Hello and welcome to Gardening Australia.
Stephen, Ryan,
Oh,
you
God.
are under the effects
Yeah.
of general anaesthetic.
Yeah, sorry. Hello and welcome to the Horti-Culturalists. I'm Stephen Ryan.
And I'm Matthew Lucas, and we make a video every week and we post on a Friday. So if you're interested in following our journey, do hit subscribe and the notification bell to know exactly what we're doing every week.
And don't forget our Monday shorts. So if you've got a specific question you'd like to ask me, put it in the comments below. Tell me where you're from for context, and we'll get round to answering them on a Monday.
We will indeed. Well, he will. I'll just read it out charmingly. But Stephen, talking of context,
Yes.
what is behind us? It's very Monet-esque, isn't it?
Yes, in fact, it's even more Monet than Monet, really. We're here at the Blue Lotus Water Gardens, and it is exactly as the name would suggest. It is full of lotuses and water lilies and all those plants that you would associate with a water garden.
And it is absolutely beautiful. As you can see, it's really quite vast.
Yep.
It's many, many acres, beautiful series of dams and ponds and waterfalls, an amazing array of water plants. But today we're going to focus on one thing.
Yes, we're going to focus on temperate water lilies.
Temperate water lilies. And as you can see, ta-da, there is one of the many bodies of water filled with water lilies. We're going to meet Geoff, the founder, the owner of this place, to learn all about it. But I've always been a little frightened of water lilies. It's one of those groups of plants that I thought was quite tricky, you know, the planting of them, the nurturing, the maintenance, the depth, the water, and da-da-da-da.
Yeah, well, hold on. We've looked at lots of groups of plants that have their specific requirements. I can't see that they're going to be that much difficulty involved.
No, well, shall we go and find out? We'll go and meet Geoff and learn all there is to know about temperate water
I
lilies.
think that's a great idea. Let's do just that.
All right, Stephen, we're going off to meet Geoff Cochrane.
Yes.
What is he? He's the king of water lilies and lotus, but water lilies. So tell me everything. I mean, I know I've seen them growing in the great gardens of England and
Yes.
Ireland and in North America, but where are they from?
Well, almost all those places. The genus Nymphaea is a genus of about 65 species.
Yeah.
And of course, man has been working on them for years, producing new hybrids, different colours, different foliage forms. So they're quite a large group of plants, and they have habitats virtually worldwide. So you can find plants in Australia, you
There's
can
just some
find them
behind
in
us there.
Asia. Yes, there's some beautiful specimens there behind us. All through Europe, all through Africa. There's water lilies that come from practically every part of the world. So there you go.
Wow, which I did not realise.
Well, there you go. Yes, always something to learn in horticulture, I have found.
Well, yes, indeed.
Yes.
So what we're looking at today, though, is temperate ones. So obviously, that's a vast stretch of the earth that these plants are on.
Oh, yes.
So many can take cooler climates.
Many can take exceedingly cold climates. There are water lilies that will grow perfectly well in far north Canada, Russia, any of those sort of very cold parts of the world. And many of the temperate ones are perfectly happy in an area where there's almost no winter to speak of either.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, let's go and find Geoff and learn all there is to learn about temperate water lilies. Stephen,
Good
right?
idea. Let's go. All right, Matthew. Geoff is a water lily expert I would like you to get to know well.
I will. Hello, Geoff. Thank you very much. We may have met before
Yeah.
talking about lotus.
Yes,
just
exactly.
saying.
Yes. All right, so we're going to talk today about the temperate water lily group, basically. So let's define it. Water lilies and lotuses, how do they differ mainly?
They're two very different plants.
Yeah.
The lotus, the leaves come out of the water and they can be as tall or taller than us.
Yeah.
The water lilies are basically, the leaves are on the water. They might rise a little bit above,
Yeah.
but they are basically on the water. So they're two very, very different plants. The lotus grows on a long runner, the water lily on a compact rhizomal form.
All right, so they're the main differences between the two groups of plants, even though they're both water plants. Are they botanically particularly close, or are they actually a fair way away? I know they're different genera, but are they in the same plant family?
No, I think they're a fair way apart.
Yeah.
So what about the depth then? So if the leaves are floating, I guess where does the root of the plant sit? What's its relationship? So in our lotus video, you were talking about the rhizome growing through the mud, sending up the shoots. What is the growth cycle of a water lily?
Very similar. The roots are in the mud.
Right.
The rhizomes that the hardy water lilies grow, the temperate water lilies grow from, also in the mud, and the leaves come up. Water depth, it varies with varieties. Some of the small varieties can be in 6-8 inches of water,
Oh, wow.
and some of the bigger varieties, they can go down to 4 and 5 feet. Some of the
So
damp.
I guess the other thing, you were talking in our video on the lotuses about having a reasonably even water level, because you don't want the leaves to go under and, you know, all that sort of thing. With the water lilies, with their leaves floating on the surface, they would actually cope with a bit of diversity in depth.
Yes, they're
throughout
more
the year.
adaptable to that.
Yeah.
And if we get a sudden downpour of rain and the water rises a foot or more,
Yeah.
the leaves go under, you find within 24 hours they've extended their leaves to the top.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they
So
will cope.
they've got that, they're more versatile in that
Yeah.
way, yes.
All right, so they're a bigger group of plants than the lotuses. There's more wild species than the lotuses. Obviously, just even looking around your collection here, there's quite a diversity in flower colour. Is there anything that the breeders are trying to do with water lilies?
Yes, they're trying to put the blue colour, which is in the tropical water
Yeah.
lilies, they are trying to put them into the temperate water lilies. So that's because that's about the only colour that isn't in the temperate water.
Ah, so that's the holy grail.
Yes.
Well, you've got a beautiful pond of the blue lotus, which is
Yes.
a water lily, which is what your garden's named after. So is that the one that's trying to be interbred with the
Yes.
temperate ones? So let's talk temperate then. With lotus, I was amazed that you were saying basically that they can take freezing temperatures. Is that the same with the temperate water lilies? So they're herbaceous, are they? They die down to
Yes. Yes, they are.
a
They're
rhizome.
perennial and they go dormant.
Right.
And yes, the same deal.
Wow.
They're not affected by the coldness of the winter.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as the rhizome doesn't freeze,
Yeah.
once again. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I guess if we're talking about what they require, soil type would be again just reasonable soil in the bottom of the lake or in the pot we're going to pot it up into, I guess. What about feeding and any other extraneous things you might do with water lilies?
Yes, look, they only require good topsoil.
Yeah.
They don't like highly acidic soil. So you've got a very raw mountain soil, for instance,
Yeah.
that would not be suitable. And that it might only have a pH of 4 or something.
Yeah.
But other than that, outside that, they pretty well will take any reasonable topsoil.
Ah,
Yeah.
right.
Great.
Fantastic. And sun is another thing that we should cover. Again, I'm assuming water lilies need to get a fair percentage of the day's sun.
Correct. They
Yeah.
need to get at least 6 hours, similar to the lotus.
Yeah.
Now, the other exciting thing about lotus for me, Geoff, was growing them in pots because a lot of us don't have lakes and estates.
Yes.
Yes.
What's your theory or your thoughts on water lilies in pot culture?
Look, they're not quite as adaptable to pots. The very small water lily will take a pot, probably a minimum of 60, but probably 80 centimetres big.
Yeah. And so you'd look for one of the really miniature types if you're going to pot
That's
grow.
about 2
Yes.
feet for our
Yeah.
American viewers.
Yes, yes. You would normally grow them in a smaller pond. You can put them into you buy them in a pot like that. You would put them into a slightly bigger pot and then put it down in the pond.
Yeah. So that's the
how
other
I do it.
question. Are they better in a pot in a pond or even slash dam, or are they better being established into the dam or pond itself?
In a dam, earth bottom dam that's got some topsoil on the bottom, yes, they can go straight in the
Yeah.
soil. They will spread. They will spread a long way over time. And they can get very leafy too, some types.
Yeah.
But in a pond, in someone's backyard, I'd always recommend leaving them in a pot.
Yeah. And it doesn't
just
have
put
to
them
have
in a bit-
drainage holes, I take
No,
it.
no, it can do.
Yeah, it can
They
do. It won't
will-
matter.
It won't matter. It's
Yep.
probably a help because it takes some of the nutrient out of the pond.
Ah, yes, so the roots can
Yeah.
come out the bottom of the drainage holes and
Yeah,
take
yeah.
some stuff up. All right, Geoff, if I was putting something into my home fish pond in the way of a water lily, a temperate water lily, I suppose I could put soil in the bottom of the pond and plant it into that, but would you recommend actually growing them in a container that you'd sink into the pond?
Yes, Stephen, I would highly recommend keeping them in a container.
Yeah.
I would take them out of the container you've bought them in because that's a bit small. You're
Yep.
not going to get much performance. I'd put them in a pot about that size.
Yeah, so something about that big.
Put some more topsoil around them.
Yeah.
You might put a few pebbles on that to stop any turbulence
Ah, yes,
into the
yes,
water.
coming up into the
and
water.
then you put them down into your pond.
Yeah.
If you put topsoil into your pond, you're going to encourage a lot of the underwater plants,
Yeah.
which you will regard as weeds once they fill your pond.
Well, I guess
So,
the point of a pond in a garden is that you want to still be able to see water, don't you?
yes,
Otherwise, what's the point in having a pond other than for growing your water lilies in? So if you can manage the surface area to be a little bit open,
correct,
and that would work better if you do things in pots.
correct. And you don't, one tip, you don't over fertilise water lilies. All our water lilies here that are sold and out in our dams, we try to starve them a little bit.
Yeah.
If you feed them too heavily, they easily get very leafy and you're not getting the flower performance from them.
And I guess if this fertiliser isn't being used up by the water lilies, that's going to have issues with the water quality
It
as
will
well.
do, yes.
Yeah, so you'd have to be careful of that as well. So they're not gross feeders.
No,
All right, now, if I've got my pond all set up in my garden at home, and it's a nice sizable pond where I feel I can get 1 or 2 water lilies into place, does it matter if I've got a water jet shoving water up in the middle of the pond, or I've got a waterfall flowing in, or there's water flowing through? Do they need still water, or can I get away with having some sort of water feature that way?
they prefer still water.
Yeah, right.
And what they don't like is constant water on the leaves, because that's like constant rainfall.
Yeah.
They'll take a bit, but not too much.
All right, so you can't get carried away and have something that looks like Longwood Gardens in Pennsylvania with water
Correct.
going everywhere. All right,
Correct.
if I had a pond that was, say, 3 metres wide or thereabouts, on average, how many water lilies would I put into a pond like that to still be able to see some water, to get a good balance?
You don't want to put too many in, that's
Yeah.
the temptation.
Well, it is, because I want one of every.
Now these ponds here are about 3 metres across.
Yeah,
Look, I might have 1, 2, 3, 4 at the most.
at the most.
Maybe a few upright plants,
Yeah,
and then you're still seeing plenty of water with
Yeah.
it.
All
Don't put too many in.
good. All right, so greed is not a good idea.
Oh, Geoff, thank you so much. Water lilies, another plant I've always been sort of frightened of in terms of horticulture, but you've made it all so simple.
It is simple. It's the same with lotus.
Yeah.
Once you know the basic principles and what they like and what they don't like, it's pretty easy. They're pretty maintenance free too.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
Exciting. Well,
Well-
we're going to wander around now and look at some of your collections, and thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And Stephen, I guess this lake illustrates Geoff's point about keeping them in pots even in such a large body of water.
You can get at them when you need to,
Yeah.
which is part of the thing. And of course, you can contain them to a certain extent,
Yeah.
although they'll always spend their time trying to get outside of the containers. But that's part of management, I suppose.
But also no competition, because all you can really see are the water lilies. I mean, you can see lotus as well, because that's the other thing that grows here.
Yeah.
But there's no other aquatic plants because he's just got clay-lined dams.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't have to compete with all sorts of other wrangly things that will get into the water.
There you go. Oh, I love this place.
Yes, it's a great deal of fun. I'm thoroughly enjoying looking at all these amazing plants.
Me too. Well, Stephen, temperate water lilies in pots.
Yes, obviously can be done.
Yeah.
This is quite a broad and comparatively shallow water bowl.
Yeah.
And here we have a nice apricot-y pink coloured water lily. One flower, but obviously it's probably had others. I can see where there's been flowers and there'll probably be more. Would make a lovely feature in any garden. And I was just going to say too, there's some sneaky little lotuses trying to find their way in here. So there's some seedling lotuses that have found their way into this water feature. So some point or another, something might have to give.
Yes, but just goes to show. So this is probably about 1.20 meters across, do you
Yep.
think?
Yeah, something like that.
But probably only about 30 centimeters deep. So ideal for a terrace or a patio, anywhere where there's full sun, I guess. I'm inspired, Stephen. All I need is a sunny spot.
That might happen one day, you never know.
It might. Well, Stephen, temperate water lilies.
I don't know. We're getting a lot of wet things happening in our life at the moment, but it's part of gardening and they're a great group of plants that need to be known better.
They are. It is so beautiful here. So Blue Lotus Garden, it's open seasonally. So basically sort of late spring, summer, early autumn. Really depends on the season. So do check the website.
Yes, that's the best thing to do. And remember, they have a plant nursery, a cafe, they've got children's play equipment. There's almost everything you want.
It really is today because it's so massive. And the other great thing, really, everything that you see, you can buy.
Yes, yeah, I like that.
And I'm particularly thrilled that they can grow in pots. So maybe there's food for thought for me.
Yes, there is. I just need to make some more sun in my garden so I
Yeah.
can grow any of them.
Yeah, you've got a lot of ponds. Anyway, but now, what can we do next week, Stephen?
Goodness only knows. I mean, it could well be something else to do with water plants. Who knows? But
Who knows?
anyhow,
But if you want to know, you'll have to hit subscribe. We post every week on a Friday.
yes, and don't forget our Monday shorts. So if you've got a question you'd like to ask me, pop it in the comments below. Give me a sense of where you're from for context, and we'll answer it on a Monday.
We will indeed. But until then, we look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye all.